Ooh. Okay, that's good. How's everyone doing? Good. Awesome. So I'm gonna do 2 pieces tonight. I wrote them both in the last maybe like 6 months. I'm in my early 20s, and I feel like this is a moment where you realize that you're a human being, and that means you're fucked. So I'm just kind of like unpacking all of that shit, and it's coming out with a lot of like family issues, and you know, everyone's got those. So the first poem does not have a title. I do title some of my poems, but this one doesn't have a title. And yeah, we're gonna see how it goes. Cool. My mother, what a wonderful woman. She gave me 3 older brothers, and on her last child she screamed out, threw her head back and hollered, "Oh Lord, please let this one be a gal." Or so the story goes, that I came shooting out, to put it gently, all wet and slippery, as my father caught me from in between my mother's knees. He looked down at me and said, threw his hands up in the air and declared, "This one's a keeper, by all means we shall keep her safe and warm." I was a spring baby, and I can't be sure, but I like to think that it was the son that I've been waiting all that time for. Because of late it seems like the winters have been a little too harsh, or maybe I've just been a little too weak, but all the same it seems I can no longer breathe whenever the sun sleeps. I guess I've been searching for that feeling of when my father held me in his arms, fed me a fingertip of honey, called me darling. Some days I swear I can still taste it on the bottom of my tongue. He baptized me in the name of Allah, and make no mistake, he named me Fatima Allen, the Shining One. If only I had known then what had only just begun. Perhaps I could have saved us all from words unspoken, but nobody warns you, I guess. Well, nobody knows what it sounds like when a family is broken. Inshallah, my father whispered words like secrets that now sound a lot more like lies, or promises unkept, or excuses, or dreams shot dead. Perhaps then I should be more broken, more torn, more sad than upset. But life is as funny as it is short, and surely there must be somebody to blame for all the tears shed, and all of the pain and all the anger held that still lingers in the air like memories that creep through the rooftop, or more like nightmares that stain the walls and flood the floors and pours down a darkness that you've never seen before. But life is as sure as it is mysterious. And I must admit that it's a shame that a child never gets to see her father for who he truly is, as he is born, as he grows, and as he lives. But I've trapped myself in quite a predicament, you see. I can't quite seem to forget the feeling that my father forgot me, or that he left me behind, or that he forgot himself, or simply couldn't let go of his pride. But I can't quite fault him, for he is older now, and so am I. And I can't quite forget the truth that the last thing a daughter sees is her father die. The only thing I truly know is that I don't know but all the women, the dope, the coke, or that I had given up the need to know and decided just to say to hell with it all. But I realize now that I must not have known even the half of it all, and wish that I had never known the other half at all. But I'd heard it all in fragments through the sound of my mother's cries, and realized that I've lived long enough to witness the way a smile recedes from a person's eyes. My mother was a devout believer, but even God wouldn't listen when she begged her demons to leave her. Best believe, at least it seems to me, that she spent her life in a prison cell, that even Gabriel's paradise couldn't undo the hell of it all. I hear my father's voice now echo in the distance. He asks me if I'd like him to give me something to cry for. I taste the leather on the bottom of my tongue long after I've hit the floor. My brother tries to console me as he rubs the welts on my back. I wonder if this is what it feels like to be Muslim or to be black.
Wow.
My brothers are men who follow. They remind me of fallen willow trees. Weeping, they lean and lust for water lilies that float downstream so effortlessly, erratically chasing dreams like shadows that don't ever reveal themselves, but they never quite leave. I wonder if they were ever jealous of me, Al-Zahra, the Shining One. I might have been saved had I not been the chosen one. But I still pray the time might heal us, or that God believes that I'd meant to kneel to him all this time, but had simply lost my mind in the hell of it all. Thank you. Woo! Thank you. Okay. The next one is called Damnation. And I Thank you. I wrote it as a way to, like, forgive my fault. Actually, it's fuck it. I'm just gonna do it. Okay, cool. I think I've memorized it. So, I dreamt last night of my father, who willingly traveled to an unknown land to find the promise of eternal salvation, for he had dreamed for me to be born into heaven. Upon arrival, he knelt down on his knees and placed his palms in the earth and felt the mud in between his fingers. Smiling with gratitude, he said, "Thank you, Mother, for now I have found a home." But before my father could rise, he felt pressure on his shoulders, which traveled down his back and settled into his spine. And he looked up to find the configuration of a man whose details were blocked by the burning of the sun that lay slightly behind him. He felt the man smile with greed and heard the man say, "Thanks to my God, I know now what I may own." And he gathered my father and chained him to his brother, who was chained to his brother, who was chained to his brother, and so on and so forth, in such a way that when my father took a step back, so too did his brothers. And when my father took a step forward, all of his brothers behind him fell to their knees. And all of these men, my father included, were marched inland, and they were told that damnation lay at the other side of the ocean, and that divinity could be found in the height of the trees that were eventually cut down, or in the blue of the sky that was constantly shadowed by clouds that turned out to be smog, or in ignorance, although my father had always been an intelligent man, or at the end of a leather whip they pulled from the pages of the Bible like a bookmark used to make my father dance, used to make my father kneel, used to make my father cry, used to make my father fear himself, or the self he knew only through the man who had chained him to his brothers and told him that damnation lay at the other side of the ocean. And so my father, who was once an amazing swimmer, for he was born into the water, forgot where he came from, forgot he was a navigator, forgot he could build, forgot he was a warrior, forgot he could fight, forgot he was a survivor, forgot he could love, forgot he was a father, forgot he could care, forgot he was a man with a mother who had died and whose ashes had spread themselves around the world and laid themselves in the earth at my father's feet, grounding him, supporting him, uplifting him. But in my dream, I could sense that my father did not feel uplifted at all, that he felt drowned, that he could not breathe. And so he did not speak to me as I called out for him. I said, "Daddy, reach for my hand. Teach me to swim." And in that moment, I woke up somewhere on the other side of the ocean. Thank you.